Thank you, and I know that you want to make an addition or change to the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, we would like, for staff efficiency, if we could move the public hearing up to the first item, and then I'll be covering the 3 remaining items.
Okay, it's fine with me.
So I think it takes a motion by the board.
What's that?
Does it take a vote by the board?
That'd be good.
Yeah, all in favor of moving the public hearing to the first agenda item? Aye. Opposed? Good enough, it's moved. So we have approval of 2 sets of minutes. Can I have a motion for the July 8th?
So moved.
We've got a motion to pass the minutes.
Second.
Second with Jordan. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? July 22nd, 2021 minutes.
So moved.
Got a motion to move, motion to approve. Curtis is second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Good enough. So we will start the meeting with the public hearing. And this agenda item is, I'll read it into the record. This is the Wisteria Walk PD. It's a request for a conceptual spatial exemption plan development, plan approval and concurrent preliminary PD plan plat approval for 121 single-family detached home development to be known as Wisteria Walk PD. GRBK GHO LLC is the owner. Stuckey, Brittle, and Stoddard LLC is the agent. This is located on the north side of 17th Street Southwest and the east side of 27th Avenue Southwest. The zoning is RS6, residential single family up to 6 units per acre. The land designation is L2, low density residential up to 6 units per acre. And the density is 3.34 units per acre. So any declaration of ex parte? None? Bill, can we swear everyone who wants to talk in just once?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Okay, anyone who would like to speak tonight at all, please stand and get sworn in.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Very good. Staff, may we have your presentation?
All right, there you go.
Good evening. For the record, my name is John Stoll. I'm a senior planner with the Community Development Department. Tonight before you have a special exception conceptual PD plan and concurrent preliminary PD plan application known as Wisteria Walk Plan Development. So there are 2 steps to tonight's request. The first is a conceptual special exception PD plan, where the board needs to make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners to to recommend approval with conditions or deny the request.
Michael, can you hear me?
Let's hear.
Yep. Okay, cool. Just making sure.
Yeah.
Just make sure my audio is working from my phone.
Yeah, you guys are live.
That's great.
If you could mute.
All right, cool. I guess we'll throw it in live. We'll just wait.
Yep.
We'll see.
Okay.
Sorry about
that.
That's Zoom. We had a last minute change from the conference call to Zoom. So if you could escape back out and just see on the Zoom. The folks on the Zoom call, can you hear us? All right. Lisa, can you email them and just let them know they are live? Thank you. Sorry. We're going to try to make do. I wasn't expecting the last minute change.
Okay. So we were at the special exception conceptual PD plan recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. Additionally, the Planning and Zoning Commission has a preliminary PD plan plat approval or approve with conditions or deny, subject to the Board of County Commissioners approval of the conceptual PD plan and special exception request. If approved, the next step will be a land development permit, and then the final step would be final plat approval by the Board of County Commissioners. This is a location map of the subject site, located to the east of 27th Avenue Southwest and to the north of 17th Street Southwest. You'll see that the subject site is zoned RS6, with RS6 zoning to the north, east, and south, RS3 zoning to the southwest, and PD zoning to the west. This is an aerial of the project site showing the vacant lot. The surrounding land uses are single-family to the north, to the east, and to the south, with vacant land to the west. To the south, you have the Falcon Trace planned development, and to the north, you have Oslo Park. So for a summary of the proposed development, the site is 36.27 acres. They're proposing 121 single-family units at 3.34 units per acre. The applicant is requesting increases or reductions in minimum lot size, minimum building setback, maximum building coverage, and minimum right-of-way width. In exchange for that, the applicant is offering off-site improvements, increased project open space, larger perimeter setbacks, increased recreation area, and acceptance of off-site stormwater. Here you'll see the full conceptual PD plan. There's 2 stormwater tracks in the middle of the area, upland preserve areas to the northeast and to the southwest, several recreation sites throughout the area, and the internal roads that are proposed. Here's a table summarizing the proposed PD waivers, comparing them to the existing RS6 minimum standards. As you can see, the applicant's proposing a reduction in lot size, lot width, building setbacks, maximum building coverage, right-of-way width, and minimum open space per lot, but an overall increase in open space for the project area. Here you'll see the traffic circulation plan. There's a full movement gated entry off 17th Lane Southwest here. A secondary emergency access is proposed as a 20-foot wide gated connection to 15th Street Southwest. Internal sidewalks are proposed on both sides of all internal streets. Public Works identified and is requiring construction and paving of the west half of 15th Street Southwest and the east half of 17th Street Southwest. And external sidewalks are proposed for 15th Street Southwest, 27th Avenue Southwest, and 17th Street Southwest. So an overall summary of dedications, improvements, and conditions that the applicant is responsible for, as the aforementioned external sidewalks, internal sidewalks, 15th Street Southwest and 17th Street Southwest paving improvements, street lighting, landscape buffers, and tree mitigation plans, and a jurisdictional wetlands determination. Here's the landscape and buffering plan. You see there's a 50-foot wide type A buffer with a 6-foot opaque feature on the west side along the 27th Avenue Southwest. Frontage, a 40-foot wide type A buffer with a 6-foot opaque feature to the north and to the south. And then on the east side of the property, a 30-foot wide type B buffer with a 6-foot opaque feature. And these are the proposed public benefits. To offset the proposed waivers, the construction and paving of the east half of 17th Street Southwest and the west half of 15th Street Southwest, increased home setbacks and buffers from all project perimeters, providing 53.7% of total project open space versus the minimum of 40%, and treatment and storage of stormwater runoff for 15th Street Southwest and 17th Street Southwest through an on-site stormwater system. This brings us to staff's recommendation, and staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission grant preliminary PD plan plat approval, subject to the Board of County Commissioners' approval of the Conceptual Plan Development Plan and Special Exception Request, and recommend that the Board of County Commissioners grant Conceptual PD Plan and Special Exception approval for Wisteria Walk PD with the conditions listed in staff's report, including final street lighting design, final landscape, buffer, and tree mitigation plans, wetlands determination from St. Johns River Water Management District, 15th Street Southwest and 17th Street Southwest construction and paving, and internal and external sidewalks. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, John. P&Z Commissioner questions? Alan?
I have a few questions. Is this a gated community?
Yes.
Okay. The other neighborhoods in that area, north, east, and south, are the houses in those areas consistent with the zoning, or are those also PDs and reduced dimensions?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I should have introduced myself. For the record, Ryan Sweeney, Chief of Current Development. Alan, to the north and a little bit further to the east, not the large vacant parcel, but to the north and the east is the old Oslo Park subdivision. Those are conventional lots that actually predated the RS6 zoning. They're platted at 50 by 100, and primarily they're built at 50 by 100. There are some lots that have been combined that are now 100 by 100, but for the most part, they're 50 by 100 platted lots that don't actually conform with the RS6 because the minimum RS6 is 70 feet wide, but they existed prior to the zoning district. To the south is Falcon Trace, Phase 1 and 2, and the lot widths on those.
They range between 55 and 70. They get larger towards the back, but they're usually about 55 to 60 in the front of the lot.
And that's zoned RS3, but it has a PD approval. So those were approved as PD.
So ultimately, I'm trying to get to the question of, will the lots in this subdivision, the proposed one before us today, will those be consistent with or materially smaller than the lots in the surrounding area?
I would say completely compatible and consistent with.
Next question I have, the public benefits. We don't have a definition in our code for what constitutes a public benefit, do we?
No.
Yeah, and from my standpoint, that's a problem, just in the system, because, you know, when you tell me it's a gated community, and, for example, you're saying the one public benefit is a more open space than the minimum required, to me, I'm not sure how that's really a public benefit if inside a gated community. I understand it's a benefit to the residents inside this proposed community, but again, I'm not so sure I see how the public benefits from that. The paving, for example, the east half of 17th Street southwest from the project entrance to the eastern limit of the project. I don't know how long that is, but what happens on either side of that pavement? Is it dirt or is it paved?
So, yeah, I anticipated that question. So, again, Mr. Chair, Alan, for both, so 17th Street Southwest is currently a dirt road. It's a platted right-of-way with a dirt road. And per the code, the applicant would be required to only escrow their fair share. They wouldn't actually be required to pave anything. So the thought was, instead of just paying money that ultimately is refundable, they would actually pave an improvement, actually provide an improvement that's over and above the escrowing. And that's from the entrance to the east to ultimately provide paved access to the subdivision, the Oslo Park subdivision, and the vacant property to the east. We also mentioned briefly they're actually going to gate off and close everything to the west because there's an illegal, not ideal connection of 17th Street Southwest at the intersection of 27th and 17th Lane. If you've ever driven by there, there's kind of a sketchy little dirt driveway there that they're ultimately going to close off. Same thing goes for 15th Street Southwest. Their requirement for that side would have been only to escrow their west half to the second or the emergency access, but instead they agreed to pave, which provides a benefit not only to their project as a secondary access, but also to the neighborhood. So instead of paying a certain share for a frontage, they instead agreed to pave the entire thing. That is the difference, is the public benefit over and above what's required.
You've expressed in the past, and you sold me on this concept, that one of the things about planned developments that may make it attractive compared to simply projects that comply with existing zoning is it gives staff a chance to really kind of get back into the planning process and have a lot more input, kind of to manage the development in a way that is beneficial in some way. Are there any examples of that here other than what you've listed as the public benefits?
No, I mean, I think the paving items are huge, together with the safety issue with 17th Street Southwest. The increased buffering an aesthetic improvement. But again, one other thing that we try to express is that the public benefit has got to be commensurate with.
Guys, Erica says she's on the email, but I don't see her on here.
Let's see if you can mute that. The public benefit has to be.
Hey, it's Erica, I'm
Can you
on.
mute them?
Oh, okay, I see you now. Okay, gotcha. Participants, for some reason, only shows.
There we are. All right, sorry about that. Well, hopefully we get that under wraps. That needs to be commensurate with the request. So in this case, going from 70-foot wide lots to 55s is not as drastic as we've seen with going from 80s to, say,
Erica,
50s.
we're in a hold for now.
The other thing is the increased buffering. Ultimately, the request, what they've agreed to provide public benefits versus what they're requesting is, in my opinion, certainly balanced, because they're not really asking for a whole lot, and they're not really achieving, I mean, they're still only at 3.3 units per acre versus the underlying 6.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Any other questions from P&Z commissioners? I've got one. What is the current status of that strip of land immediately to the east?
It's vacant, 2 vacant parcels. There's 2 very small, if you look, I don't know if you can see the cursor, there's
Yeah.
2 small homes on parcels, and then that's just a vacant parcel that was not part of the Oslo Park subdivision that ultimately could be developed. It's RS6.
Yep, okay. Okay, this is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing. If you'd like to speak, please come to one of the podiums and state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is John Prather. P is in Papa, Rather. Address is 2336 17th Street Southwest. And my property, I'm part owner of the property, is to the southeast of the proposed site. And my big concern is the drainage of the water and where it's gonna go, because I don't want my property to turn into a swamp because of improper drainage.
Another concern is I know that the proposed site is a garbage dump, basically. And what's gonna happen is all them people dumping their garbage is gonna start coming on my property and dumping their garbage. It went
Okay,
on
so
for
can we-
decades.
Can we handle the questions one at a time? Do you have any input on the water, how the water may impact his, water management may impact his property?
Sure, Mr. Chair. As with all projects or developments, including both conventional as well as PDs, the stormwater requirements is that they not send water onto adjacent sites, and also must preserve existing drainage patterns. So if water flows from his site through the project site, they also have to account for that. But the other item, and again, I'm not a drainage engineer, but the paving and improvements for 17th Street Southwest in particular will certainly, I think, improve the drainage in the right-of-way. And as we mentioned, that not only is it the paving and construction of the road, but the project takes in the stormwater from those roadways. But yeah, we'll get, and I know the project engineer rep is here as well. As we've said before, that the land development permit, which is the next step, is where we get into the real details of the drainage calcs and everything.
So, Mr. Prather, are you on a mailing list so you know when these are coming up?
Yes, I am.
And do you have contact with the project engineer?
No, I do not.
Is that possible?
Yeah, we can certainly provide it to you.
And could I please request copies of what you have
Yeah, we'll
down
send
here?
it. Yeah, we'll send it. To you.
And in the future, I'd like to have this Zoom address or however to watch it on the computer. Because the other person.
That's your man right there, so, at the end of the meeting. So you had a second issue, and that was the garbage dump, and I'm not sure exactly where the garbage dump is.
That big site right there, it's all over. I own a pond right there, and the local people that live there call that the hippie hole. They get to my property through the big site area there, and they go there, they throw their beer bottles and cans, smoke dope over there at the pond. I gotta call up the sheriff and chase them off myself.
but they're dumping on my property too, but they're getting in from that site.
So is that a code enforcement
Yes,
issue?
and I've been with code enforcement myself, and I told them about it, and nothing came about it. And when I see people going in that area to dump their garbage, I usually call the sheriff.
Has that been successful for you?
No. And I even actually took couches off my property that was thrown on there and took them out to the dump and paid for them to get dumped myself.
If I could ask Mr. Praiser for your contact information too. Phil Mattson, Community Development Director, and I'll personally follow up with code enforcement. They've become more proactive than they have in the past, and they're actually collecting the fines, not just imposing them. I think we're going to see stepped-up code enforcement from now on. Typically, how it works in a situation like this, we do need to catch them in the act. That's usually done by the sheriff. They're the ones who come out immediately. We don't have an emergency code enforcement team, although we will come out if an activity is reported to us. The sheriff collects the evidence, we take the evidence, and then we can start the code action after that. So if you don't mind, I'll get your information, and I promise you I'll follow up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And something else about that property, there's a bunch of melaleuca trees, and back in 2002, there was a fire back there. And all those seeds from that fire came onto my property, and melaleuca trees are water-loving invasive trees. And they took root all along that pond there, and they're sucking my pond dry.
I mean, I don't know if there's a remedy for that. I mean, as far as the trespassing, is your property posted there along
Yes, it's
17th Street
posted.
Southwest?
Excuse me, yeah, sorry for cutting you off.
That's okay. Is it,
It is posted, but as soon as I put up a sign, it disappears.
is it fenced as well, or no?
Not fenced.
Okay.
And that property's been there before Oslo Park. The last time the title was changed was 1919, and then I changed it in 2020 and paid off the back taxes.
I mean, the master gardeners might be able to suggest some herbicides that are effective against Melaleuca. But yeah, I mean, anytime you're going to get any fire involved with Melaleuca, you're going to have a mess. I don't know.
I got a mess.
Yeah, I would imagine. Short of a friend with a backhoe or some heavy equipment, that'd be about the only thing that I could think of.
Yes. Thank you for your suggestion.
You're welcome, sir.
That's about it, except for, he showed where the exits and entrances were to the place, and that's fine. And he's gonna have a 6-foot opaque, I guess, wall there on the property adjoining my property.
It'll be a landscape.
It's just gonna be a mound of dirt, like at Falcon Trace? Or is there actually gonna be a wall there?
It'll be a berm with landscape on top.
Yeah, but no wall?
No wall.
Yeah, that means people is just gonna be, from your development there, they're gonna be coming into my woods.
I'm not sure.
I'm sure. Because they're gonna be back there smoking dope, littering, and being a nuisance to me.
Well, are we at a point where we even are discussing the berms, or is that future?
No, the preliminary design is a earthen berm with a very robust landscape buffer on top of the berm, and on the east side is 30 feet.
Yeah.
So the next step for this is the county commissioners, Mr. Prather, and I suggest that you go to that meeting and voice your concerns as well.
Okay, you don't have a date set for that yet?
More than likely, it will be the second meeting in September. The date is escaping me. I can tell you in
I
just a
think
minute.
it's the 21st.
Yeah, I think that's right. We're going to have to do a notice of public hearing on the 14th, and the actual, again, you're going to receive another mailing notice.
Yeah.
And we'll add you, if you give us the email address, we'll add you to that as well, so you'll get the staff report right away.
Okay, yes, any other information you
Sure.
may have, please.
Absolutely.
I'd very much appreciate that.
All right.
That's about it.
Thank you, Mr. Prather.
Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Any additional questions by county commission, the planning and zoning commissioners?
I would just make a comment. As I've expressed in the past, I look with a little bit more critical eye at the plan developments, just because it seems like we keep getting plan developments, and it seems like a way around the zoning requirements. This particular one, I will vote in favor of. Largely, I don't want to stand in the way of this particular development. I noticed it was approved for 134 lots back in 2003, 2005. Also, I take comfort in the fact that apparently the other lots in this geographical area, generally speaking, are the same size as these lots. So I don't think there's a marked inconsistency between this development and the surrounding developments. So I plan to support it, despite my skepticism about plan developments.
Anyone else? Call for a vote.
I'll move approval
Alan moves for approval.
with the conditions.
Curtis seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion passes.
I guess I'll move over to that one.
Okay, we have three additional agenda items. These are all on the non-consent agenda, so they're all quasi-judicial. The first is the Basin Vero Beach, and it is a request for a major site plan approval to construct a 175-unit multifamily apartment complex with associated amenities to be known as the Mason Vero Beach. New Vero Estates LLC are the owners. Kimley Horn and Associates are Incorporated of the agent. Waypoint Residential is the developer. It's located north of 20th Street, west of the Indian River Estates Retirement Community. The zoning is RM8, residential multifamily up to 8 units per acre. Land use designation is M1, medium density residential 1, up to 8 acres per acre. Density is 7.97 units per acre. Any declaration of ex parte communications? None. All the participants are sworn in, so staff, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, again, Ryan Sweeney, Chief of Current Development. Tonight, we have a request for a major site plan for the Mason Vero Beach. The project site is located on the north side of State Road 60, immediately west of the Indian River Estates Acts Retirement Community, and is just under 22 acres in size and is zoned RM8. Here's an overall aerial showing sort of the surrounding area: State Road 60 to the south, 74th Avenue to the east, 84th Avenue to the west, and 26th Street to the north. And here's a zoomed in aerial showing the existing conditions of the site outlined in red. The overall project site plan here showing the primary layout, a total of 5 residential buildings, a clubhouse and pool, amenity center, dog park, and then open space and buffering surrounding, and an undeveloped area to the north. The project's traffic circulation plan includes an existing driveway connection to State Road 60 and an existing westbound right turn lane that was constructed previously during the State Road 60 widening. There's also a secondary driveway connection to State Road 60. The curb cut also already exists. It's not served by a turn lane, but it is served by an eastbound left turn lane. So eastbound traffic can turn into this driveway here. The internal roadway is essentially a two-way drive aisle with parking spaces on either side, and there are some covered garage spaces as well. The project's stormwater plan includes one large centralized stormwater lake in the center of the project with the development surrounding it, and that includes littoral zones. The project's landscape plan includes a State Road 60 roadway buffer, which are standard roadway buffer, as well as a number of other landscape items, interior vehicular, non-vehicular, lake shoreline, and littoral zone plantings. The required improvements for the project include an internal sidewalk / pedestrian system throughout the project site. There are existing external sidewalks already on State Road 60, as well as street lighting throughout the project. And staff's recommendation is that the Planning and Zoning Commission grant major site plan for the Mason Bureau Beach with conditions listed in staff's report relating to installation of landscaping and street lighting improvements. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Any P&Z Commissioner questions of staff? None? Open the floor for public comment, if you'd like to comment on this. None? No additional questions? Call for a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Beth moves to approve.
I'll second.
Jordan seconds. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously. All right, the second non-consent item is West Vero Crossing, and this is a request for a major site plan approval for a 71,187 square foot shopping center consisting of 2 separate buildings and associated site improvements to be known as the West Vero Crossing Shopping Center. West Vero Crossings LLC is the owner. Bowman Consulting Group is the agent. It's located at the southwest corner of State Road 60 and 82nd Avenue. The zoning is CG, General Commercial. Land use designation is CI, Commercial Industrial. We've sworn in. Staff, go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Ryan Sweeney, Chief of Current Development here in the County Community Development Department. Tonight, this is a request for a major site plan approval for a new shopping center. The project site is located on the west side of 82nd Avenue, south side of State Road 60, and is shown here in gray and is zoned CG General Commercial. The aerial showing the depicting the existing conditions of the site, again, south of State Road 60, west of 82nd Ave. It's a partially vegetated site with an existing stormwater pond to the south. It's outlined in light blue. The site plan for the overall project includes the shopping center, which is a primary building of 48,000 square feet and a smaller 2 retail spaces, 1,400 and 1,000 square feet respectively, and then a retail strip building, Retail B, at 20,400 square feet, and 2 future out parcels that front on State Road 60. The existing stormwater pond to the rear will be enlarged, and the shopping center itself is, well, we'll get to that in just a minute here. The traffic circulation plan includes a total of 3 driveway cuts on 82nd Avenue and 1 driveway connection to State Road 60. Let me move this here. The State Road 60 driveway, and I apologize, I should have pointed out that most of these slides now north is oriented to the right, not up. It just fits the screen better. The State Road 60 driveway is served by an existing eastbound right turn lane, and that driveway will be right in, right out. The northernmost driveway on 82nd Avenue will be served by a new southbound right turn lane, and that driveway will be right in, right out. The middle driveway, which is the primary driveway, will be served by a new southbound right turn lane on 82nd Avenue. It will include an inbound lane and dual egress, so a right through and a left out to make a northbound turn onto 82nd. That driveway will also be served by an extension of the existing left turn lane on 82nd Avenue in the northbound lane. Lastly, the southern driveway, which is sort of the back of house driveway, is not served by a right turn lane and is a full movement driveway as well, but is also served by an extension of the northbound left turn lane on 82nd Ave. And at the intersection of 82nd Avenue and State Road 60, there's also a requirement to provide a new second northbound left to be able to make a westbound left movement onto State Road 60, and that will provide dual lefts at that intersection. I also want to point out the internal traffic circulation plan. There's primary east-west and a north-south two-way drive aisles, your typical 45-degree one-way parking pattern. The shopping center is served by a pharmacy drive-up window with one-way lanes there as well. And as part of the traffic, but also mobility, other forms of travel, the applicant and the developer or the staff has coordinated with MPO staff to provide an improved relocated transit stop location at this site. Currently, the transit stop is further to the south on 82nd Avenue, is essentially just a sign. And so now they've agreed to provide a slab and a landing, and then SRA, the GO line operator, will provide the shelter at that location, and that will require my memory just went blank, a license agreement. And then lastly, there is a stub out driveway connection to the west, to the parcel to the west that's also general commercial zone that would line up with the primary east-west drive aisle. The stormwater plan, again, includes the existing pond that will be retrofitted to meet current stormwater requirements and a slight expansion. I also want to point out that the out parcels will be included, at least a portion of the out parcels will be included in the overall master stormwater system, and therefore that will require a real estate easement agreement, a master agreement between the out parcels and the overall development, and that is outlined in staff's report as a condition of site plan release. The landscape plan includes roadway buffers along this project's State Road 60 and 82nd Avenue frontages, as well as all the other landscaping requirements, interior vehicular, non-vehicular, lake shoreline, littoral, and foundation landscape requirements. The required improvements, again, all of the off-site traffic improvements that I ran through on the traffic slide, external sidewalks, some removal and replacement of some of the existing on State Road 60 to account for the new driveway, as well as an entirely new sidewalk along 82nd Avenue, an internal sidewalk pedestrian system from the shopping center back out to the external sidewalks, and the transit stop and license agreement. I should also mention the transit stop there's an existing transit stop on the east side of 82nd Avenue that is currently on the south side of the driveway. I'm sorry, it's currently on the north side of the driveway that serves the professional office center to the east. Part of this project is going to include a U-turn bump out lane on 82nd Avenue, so the project's also required to relocate the transit stop and shelter to the south side of that driveway. And with that, staff's recommendation is that the Planning and Zoning Commission grant major site plan approval with conditions listed in staff's report relating to tree mitigation and landscape items, the master real estate easement agreement, the transit license agreement, all of the off-site traffic improvements, the transit stop pad and landing, and the landscape buffers and improvements. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Commissioner questions? Brian, any questions? I've got one for the future out parcels. You said that at least part of the water management will be dealt with in this development. So any additional water management will be dealt with when they are developed, when those out parcels are developed?
Correct, Mr. Chair. Yeah, typically the way out parcels work is there's an assumption, say 70% impervious for those out parcels, and then anything over and above would have to be dealt with on-site. So yeah, they provide an assumption. Again, 70 is a ballpark number. It could be 60, it could be 80, but anything over and above the assumption would have to be dealt with within the out parcel.
Right, and when those out parcels are developed, they'll have to deal with parking on site. They won't share the parking in this development?
Correct. This development is parked essentially right at the number right now, so they'll have to be parked accordingly. They will share the drive aisle. They'll be accessed from this major east-west drive aisle.
Okay. No questions? Open the floor for public comment. Anyone want to comment? Seeing none, and no additional questions, call for motion.
Move approval.
Alan moves to approve.
Second.
Beth seconds. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, one more. The third agenda item is the Karen's 80-acre sand mine. It is a request for a major site plan and administrative permit use approval for the Karen's 80-acre sand mine. Astro LLC is the owner. Carter Associates Incorporated is the agent. It's located on the west side of 122nd Avenue Southwest, south of Oslo Road. The zoning is A2 Agricultural 2, up to 1 unit per 10 acres. Land use designation is AG2 Agricultural, up to 1 unit per 10 acres. The area is to be excavated, 38.17 acres. Staff?
I think everybody's been sworn in.
Yep, everybody's been sworn in, so.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. For the fourth and final time, for the record, I'm Ryan Sweeney, Chief of Current Development with the County Community Development Department. Tonight's request is for the Carnes Sand Mine, which is major site plan and administrative permit use approval. The mining approval process requires, again, tonight at the P&Z, site plan and administrative permit use approval by the P&Z, and should the P&Z approve it with conditions, there is, the next step is obtaining all jurisdictional permits, meeting all conditions of site plan release, and posting all required bonds. And then there's an annual mining permit review and issuance once the mine is ready for operation, and that renews each year. And there's a sort of a checkup, if you will, with each annual mining permit. So the project site is located on the south side of Oslo Road and the west side of 122nd Avenue Southwest. This entire site and area is out in the St. John's Improvement District. Here is an aerial depicting the existing conditions of the site, and you'll see the subject site here, roughly 80 acres, south of Oslo Road, west of 122nd Avenue Southwest, and south of the St. John's Improvement District's main canal. The site plan in summary, a little bit more exact numbers, 82.55 total acres. The total excavation area is 38.17 acres. Approximately 1.8 million cubic yards of total material to be removed over the lifespan of the mine. Based on the amount of material and our code matrix, if you will, it's allowed to be a maximum 15 operational year lifespan. It is worth noting this same mine, almost in its exact size, phasing, and everything, was approved previously in 2010, but ultimately expired in 2017. The phasing plan includes the first 6 phases are all dry cells, so each cell will be dewatered and mined by just excavating, by digging the sand. And then each cell will be converted, so you'll move from one phase to the other. You really can't have any more than 2 phases going at one time. And will also help to serve as the recirculation cells in addition to the recirculation perimeter ditch. Phases either 7A and 7B are wet mining. So once the first 6 cells are phased in the dry, once they get below a certain level, they'll be mined with a dredge. The project's haul route is Oslo Road or 9th Street Southwest from the project site east to 86th Avenue Southwest. Approximately the west half of that segment is located in the St. John's Improvement District. Roughly the east half is county right-of-way. But all of that roadway segment is unpaved, is a dirt road. Once it gets to the intersection of Oslo Road and 86th Ave is when it becomes a paved road, and at that point it's essentially no longer a haul route, it's just a paved county road, and the mining traffic can continue east from there. It's worth noting that, and I can go back to the aerial, might be easier to see. So there's actually 2 fairly narrow dirt roads on the north and south side of the of the St. John's main canal. So essentially, it only allows for one-way traffic. So the haul route actually provides that the truck traffic will leave the site and the outbound trips will head eastbound on the south leg. And then when they return, they will head westbound, inbound on the north leg, and then they will have to cross an existing one-lane bridge to enter into the site. That bridge is mentioned in the staff report. It's not owned or maintained by the county. It's entirely within the St. John's Improvement District. And as a condition of approval, staff is requiring that a written authorization from the bridge owner-operator be provided. County staff, Public Works in particular, doesn't have any reason to deny or not allow any objections to the use of that bridge, but we don't own it nor maintain it. There are a number of mining regulations applicable to new sand mines or, recently approved sand mines in the county. I went through them in detail in the staff report, but I'll just sort of hit the headlines, which are maximum phase size, mining operational setbacks, and there's a number of different setbacks depending on to what it's being set back from, buffering, the method of mining, which we discussed, groundwater impacts, including an approved hydrology report provided by the applicant and reviewed by the county's third-party reviewer, a pollution prevention plan, required posting of bonds, and there's several of them, a compliance bond, restoration bond, and a haul route bond. Site security, hours of operation, those are operational items. Buffering, I may have mentioned buffering twice. Compliance and enforcement, and the annual mining permit. And again, those are, assuming they get approval, go through obtain all their other permits, post all their bonds, they apply for the annual mining permit, and then each year, staff checks to make sure the permits are still valid, the other jurisdictional, because depending on what jurisdiction, some permits are good for 2 years, some are good for 10, so we constantly kind of check. We check if there's been complaints, if the bonds are still good. So each year we routinely check all of the boxes, if you will. The mines are also subject to the specific land use criteria outlined for an administrative permit use. It requires, and I've also described these in the staff report, but the site plan requirements, reclamation and water quality management plan, no mechanical dewatering within 1,000 feet of a platted subdivision, which is miles away from any platted subdivision, must have an AG1, AG2, or AG3 land use designation, and it has an AG2 land use designation. It essentially requires mines be in the agricultural districts. And we did provide notice by mail to all properties within a quarter mile of the project site, as well as any property having frontage on the haul route. Because it's fairly large acreage parcels, that doesn't equate to a whole lot. I think it was 25 or 30 total landowners, primarily ag operators and FP&L. But we did send that out. And one item, just for the chair's note, this is weird, it's not a public hearing, but it should be treated like a public hearing. In other words, we definitely need to allow for public comment if anyone wants to speak. And with that, staff's recommendation is that the Planning and Zoning Commission grant major site plan and administrative permit use approval with conditions stated in the staff report related to buffering plan, reclamation littoral zone and landscape plan, submit required bonds and payment of impact fees, maintenance agreement for the haul route and the county portion of the haul route, written authorization to utilize the one-lane bridge in the St. John's portion, operational conditions, and an updated hydrology report at the second annual mining permit review. That's a requirement of the code. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Any commissioner questions? Yes. Beth, go ahead.
Thank you. Ryan, you answered several questions I had, but one that's lingering. There's a total amount of 1.8 plus or minus million cubic yards of sand, coming out of this mine, and it's over a 15-year period of time. How do we quantify that? Is that during the annual review?
Yes. So, Mr. Chair, Beth, a couple things. One, so each cell or each phase has an estimated, they don't have the numbers on here, but an estimated amount of fill that could come from each cell. Okay. And in addition to that, the way they arrive at that calculation is It's actually fairly simple. Of all things mining, it's fairly simple. They figure out how much can fit in one truck, and then how many trucks they run a day, how many days a week. And that's sort of a most conservative assumption. That's assuming they're running at full capacity, not 24/7, but 5 days a week between 7 and 5, 365. You might know or not know that during the Great Recession, a lot of mines kind of put a pause on their lifespan. So between the years of, say, 2008 and 2012, they kind of just said, hey, we're not operating, don't count these against our years. But yeah, so I know that's kind of a multifaceted answer, but each cell has a set sort of assumption mount, and then we do check to make sure that they're not either outpacing or underpacing themselves in the material.
All right, and could you put back up on the screen the route, the haul route? And could you show us,
Sorry, if I can find it.
if you can move on?
There we go.
There you go. I was a little bit confused in reading the package in terms of this road and the county part, the non-county part, et
Sure.
cetera. Could you describe that to us?
Yeah, absolutely. So the St. John's Improvement District ends at, I believe, 102nd Avenue, which I'm fairly certain is kind of where their, if you can see where their main canal stops. So roughly half, give or take, everything west of 102nd Avenue is in the St. John's Improvement District, and that's where it's essentially 2 one-way lanes. And then everything east of that is county right-of-way, so it's subject to county jurisdiction.
Okay. All right. All right, thank you.
Sure.
My questions.
Other questions?
I have a question. Coincidentally, when I was in private practice, I had a case where my client owned a sod farm, and along came a sand mine in the adjoining property. And they dug down, then they ended up in water, they dredged at that point, and they dewatered off-site into the adjoining canal, which sent the water toward the intercoastal. That had the effect of drawing down the groundwater underneath my client's sod farm, which died. And hence, that was the nature of the case. So when I looked at this application, that was my primary concern, making sure there would not be, particularly the surrounding lands are all zoned ag, there wouldn't be drawdown on adjoining properties and impede their agricultural use. And it looks like that's pretty well covered. You have a perimeter ditch that's designed to keep all the water within the property lines. I saw some places no off-site pumping of the water out of here. The one thing I didn't understand was there'll be a need to maintain the perimeter recharge ditches at a minimum water elevation level, 21.75 feet NGVD. I have no idea what that means, and what the significance of 21.75, why that number, and how does that ensure us that there will not be groundwater drawdown on the adjoining properties?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Alan, I'll attempt at best an amateur hydrologist answer, and then I'll also ask the project engineer to weigh in if need be. 2 things. One, so yeah, dewatering offsite, that's a huge issue. There's no dewatering offsite. No water leaves the site. It stays in the recharge ditches, and then as the cells are mined, they also recharge into the cell, sort of doubly protecting the water. And then as far as the NGVD is Northern Geodetic Vertical Datum, it's a survey point. There's two types of vertical datum, an old 1929 and then a more recent, it's a unit of measure, if you will. But the 21.75 was determined by the county's third-party reviewer through a review of the report. But basically, that's sort of the minimum elevation before potentially the recharge ditch would start to expel water beyond the perimeter recharge. So that's the minimum that needs to be maintained at all times. And that's by way of either dewatering itself, rainfall, or bringing in water from the surrounding canals. The St. John's is primarily in the business of getting water out of their lands. That's what they do, is pump water constantly. So in this case, the surrounding canals, there's a pretty well set framework of water to hold the water table in. In fact, there's canals on, I believe, all four sides.
Well, I was pleased to see that obviously a lot of attention had been paid to that question of making sure you don't draw down the groundwater level on the adjoining properties.
Absolutely.
Anything else, Alan?
No.
No. I've got a couple of questions. One is, who schedules and who executes the annual inspection?
So our code enforcement staff, between the months of, I believe it's coming up, I think it's September and October, we send out renewal notices, and then the applicant has like a 30-day time frame to fill out their, it's just a pretty standard application. They have to attach all of their permits, but it's our code enforcement staff does it. And
That's on somebody's calendar. and
oh
it
yeah, we do it every
pops
year,
up.
absolutely. Yep.
Is a hydrological study part of that annual inspection?
Not part of the annual, but with a new mine like this, because some of the water table monitoring, you can't really monitor the activity without it occurring. So that's why there's that condition that at year 2, there's an updated hydrology report. But beyond that, barring either the water levels dropping beyond the control or some other anomaly, that we don't typically require updated hydrology reports.
So at the end of the 15-year life cycle of this project, there's going to be an 82-acre lake there?
A 38-acre lake
38.
on a 80-acre site, and it'll be reclaimed with littoral shelves and plantings and other things. Essentially, yes, it'll be just a large lake.
What'll be the maximum depth?
I believe it's 40 feet total, but that's only about 25 feet below grade, so 40 feet total depth. That's at best case scenario, assuming they go all the way to where, I think at some point there's some diminishing returns as to how deep you want to go and how much fuel you want to expend, so.
Okay, well, if there are no additional questions, we'll open the floor for public comment, public questions. Anyone want to speak? Okay, no one. Any additional P and Z questions? Call for motion.
I'll make a motion.
Curtis moves to approve.
I'll second.
Beth is second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. Commissioner matters. Any commissioner matters? None? Planning matters?
Nothing to report. Well, actually, 2 items. We had a pretty hefty agenda this week, so that was good to get quite a bit of stuff through. We may have one item for the second meeting in August, but it's not a guarantee at this point. And I also did want to let you all know that Scott Rodriguez, who was our other senior planner, today was actually his last day. He took another job back in South Florida. So unfortunately, Scott will be missed, but we'll keep at it and hopefully have a new face in here by the next time we have a planning and zoning commission, at least a few from now.
Are you interviewing?
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. So a possible...
Possible item for the, correct.
Okay. Can we go beyond that into September, or no?
We'll see what the applicant was willing to do.
Okay. Attorney matters.
None, sir.
Fantastic. This meeting is adjourned.